Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. It's going to be a busy Monday. A Biden-appointed judge, surprisingly, has ruled against birthright citizenship. The Ninth Circuit says that children of foreign diplomats are not automatically U.S. citizens, which could lead to other cases very similar. We'll talk about this. More than 2 million people have signed a petition calling for leniency for an Indian illegal migrant trucker who is accused of killing 3 people in a crash in Florida. And more information on the transformation of Cracker Barrel, as it has been reported that a member of the board of directors and one of the major stockholders has a background in DEI. We have the latest on this continuing saga. And death row inmate Stephen Bixby in South Carolina believes that any judge who has ruled against him is satanic. Most laws are unconstitutional, and an angel was present when he gunned down 2 police officers more than 2 decades ago.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So let's start with a case that takes us right back to the roots of what it means to be an American citizen. And it's just got settled by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, if you're thinking, Ninth Circuit? Really? The Ninth Circuit? That's the most liberal circuit in the country? The one that usually hands out rulings that make conservatives pull their hair out? You'd be right. That's the one. That's the one I'm talking about. But this time, hold your hats, because they actually ruled in line with the Constitution. And this is no small case. So here's a story. A man named Roberto Moncada was born in New York City in 1950. For nearly 70 years, he lived like any other American. He held U.S. passports. He swore oaths of allegiance. He worked. He paid taxes. He voted. By every outward appearance, this was an American citizen. But here's the catch. Moncada's father wasn't just some immigrant living in New York City. He was a Nicaraguan attaché at the United Nations, a position that carries full diplomatic immunity. And the Constitution is very, very clear on this point. Under the 14th Amendment, only those born subject to the jurisdiction of the United States are granted automatic citizenship. So what does this mean exactly? It means that if you're born here, but your parents are foreign diplomats who are not subject to our laws while they're on assignment, then you're not a citizen. You're not a U.S. citizen. Your household is legally outside U.S. jurisdiction. It's been that way since the framers put the pen to the parchment. So what happened? Well, for decades, the government apparently thought Moncada's father was just a consul, not an attaché. Now, there's a big difference. A consul doesn't have full immunity, so the kids of a consul are subject to U.S. law and born as U.S. citizens. But in 2018, the State Department dug up the old records and found that Moncada's father had been listed on the blue list, the official list of diplomats with full immunity. And that has changed everything for Moncada. The government revoked Moncada's passport and told him, sorry, you were never a citizen in the first place. What a surprise. Now, naturally, as you would suspect, Mr. Moncada has sued. He wanted the court to declare him a citizen. This week, the Ninth Circuit sided with the government. They said the record was clear. His father was a diplomat with immunity, and under the Constitution, Moncada was never subject to the jurisdiction of the United States when he was born. Therefore, he is not a citizen. End of story. Now, I know that some of you are thinking, wait, this guy lived here for 70 years, thought he was an American. Now we're telling him he's not? Yes. It's a tough pill to swallow for him, I'm sure, on a human level. I get it. Imagine finding out in your 60s that your whole identity was built on a mistake. But listen, the law is the law, folks, right? The Constitution is the Constitution. And when it comes to citizenship, something as sacred as belonging to this country, you don't fudge the rules because you feel bad. This case reminds us of something crucial. The 14th Amendment was never meant to create unlimited birthright citizenship. End of sentence, period. It was written in 1868 to make sure that freed slaves were recognized as citizens. The language says, and this is a quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. It's just that simple. The second phrase is the key. It doesn't mean everyone born here. It means those who owe allegiance who are under U.S. law. That excludes children of diplomats, foreign invaders, and yes, arguably even people who are here illegally. This could be a huge case, folks. And that's why this case matters. Because if the courts are willing to uphold this principle in a sympathetic case like Moncada's, a man who lived his entire life believing he was an American, and I hate it for him, then it reinforces the constitutional truth that not everyone who takes their first breath on U.S. soil is automatically a citizen, right? Think about the implications. We've got birth tourism, where foreign nationals fly to the U.S. just to have a baby here so they can get citizenship papers. We've got thousands of illegal crossings at the southern border, with children being born in U.S. hospitals every single day. And we've got this political debate where Democrats scream that the 14th Amendment means citizenship for anyone born here, no matter what. Well, guess what? This ruling undercuts that narrative. It says citizenship has limits. Jurisdiction matters. Allegiance matters. It's just that simple. And folks, isn't that just common sense? I mean, we knew this to begin with. We didn't need the Ninth Circuit to tell us this, but it's good that they did. It's good that they're on record. I mean, you can't be a citizen of two countries at once at birth if one of those countries has full immunity from U.S. law, right? You can't be both inside and outside of the law at the same time. You're either under U.S. jurisdiction or you're not, and diplomats are not. They have that immunity. Mercader's case proves that we've been sloppy with this for decades. The government was wrong all along, in the words of Judge Anthony Johnstone. Again, he's a Biden appointee. Even he had to admit it. For nearly 70 years, the State Department treated Moncada as a citizen when legally, constitutionally, he was not. So the Ninth Circuit got it right for once. It's not pretty, but it's right. Now, let me tell you what worries me. You watch. The left will take this case and they're going to spin it. They'll say, look how cruel America is. This poor man lived his whole life as an American. Now he's being denied citizenship. What are we doing to him? They'll push for more lenient policies, more compassion, more exceptions. But the truth is, every time we bend the Constitution for emotion, we weaken the very foundation that holds us together as a nation, right? Citizenship isn't a participation trophy. It's not a souvenir you get for showing up. It's a sacred bond of allegiance between the individual and our wonderful country, this nation. And if we don't guard it, then we cheapen it. So here's the bottom line. The Ninth Circuit affirmed what should have been obvious from day one. Should not even be a discussion on this. Children of foreign diplomats are not U.S. citizens, no matter where they're born. And that's exactly what the framers of the 14th Amendment intended. It's easy to see that. This case also opens the door for a bigger conversation, a conversation that we need to have very badly. If the children of diplomats are excluded, what about the children of people who are here illegally, who are also not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States in the same way that citizens are? That's a question that may one day come before the courts. The sooner, the better. And cases like Moncada's could lay the groundwork for finally clarifying that once and for all. No questions asked. So here's the message. Let's respect the Constitution. Let's stop letting emotion override the plain meaning of our laws. And let's remember that being an American isn't an accident of geography. It's about allegiance. It's about jurisdiction. It's about being truly part of this great nation that you and I call home. Did they get it right? Did the Ninth Circuit finally get something right here? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Love to hear from you. It's good to be back in. I had a great time last week on the Patriots Alaska cruise. If I sound a little odd, it's because I brought something back home with me. I got I'm all congested and coughing and sneezing. Look, I guess that's just one of the risks you take when you're on a cruise ship and you're on an airplane coming back for almost 5 hours. But it's good to be back. And what a great week we had in Alaska on a cruise ship with hundreds and hundreds of patriotic Americans. It was a great week. I'll tell you all about it a little bit later. America is in a health crisis, and by America, not just strangers across the country. It's personal. Me, you, friends, and family. And a major cause? Excess weight. Joey Hudson here. The solution isn't expensive shots like Ozempic. It's learning how to eat and think about food differently, and that's what PhD Weight Loss does. Their clients lose up to a third of their body weight, no drugs, just real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science to turn your body into a fat-burning machine. Sure, you could spend up to $20,000 a year on injections that burn muscle, not fat, and come with risks like pancreatitis or bowel blockages, only to gain it all back. PhD helps your body naturally produce weight loss hormones like GLP-1s, no shortcuts, just results that last. Already on Ozempic? Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team will help you safely transition off and keep losing weight. Let's make America healthy again. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. Well, we had a great time last week on our Patriots Alaska cruise. Had several hundred Patriots from all around the country, and it was just a great week. Had a nice contingency from upstate South Carolina. And just every afternoon we would gather together on the world stage and talk about the issues. And boy, one of the issues that we talked quite a bit about that just exploded while I was away is this story about Cracker Barrel. What in the thunder is happening here? This story just blew up while I was gone. Cracker Barrel. It's always been a place where families could sit down for chicken and dumplings, biscuits, and feel like they were in grandma's kitchen. It wasn't some slick corporate test lab. Well, apparently those days are fading because Cracker Barrel last week unveiled a brand new logo, a brand new look inside the restaurants, and a brand new direction. And let me tell you, it is not going over well with the customers. Have you been keeping up with this story? The logo, gone is the iconic image of the old man leaning on the barrel. You know, the one that's been there for 48 years, part of the identity of this restaurant. And in its place, just plain black text slapped over a yellow barrel-shaped backdrop. Modern, sterile, soulless. It looks like it could be a tech company or a generic fast casual chain. It's not the Cracker Barrel that you and I have grown to love. Inside, they ditched the Americana vibe. You know how they have all the antiques? You know, I read the story one time about the couple who was responsible for buying all of that stuff. And as the story goes, this couple, and I don't know their name, but for years, that was their job. They traveled around the country and they purchased all of the antiques that you see on the walls when you go into the Cracker Barrel. What a job that would have been, huh? To be paid to go shopping? Well, Cracker Barrel just exploded last week. And I haven't been in one, so I don't know yet. And I imagine it's going to take a little time before they all are transitioned. But the story is that they're going to be slick, modern designs. They're going to have minimalist walls, trendy fixtures, generic everything. You'd be forgiven for thinking that you walked into an airport cafe. Now, why does this matter? Why are customers so angry? Because this isn't just about fonts and wallpaper. It's about a cultural shift. It's about corporate America turning its back on the very people who made them successful. It's about Cracker Barrel, a place built on country values, chasing after DEI, woke corporate cultural playbook. This is another Bud Light. And Bud Light found out that it didn't work too well for them. And I got a feeling that Cracker Barrel is going to find out the same. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Conservative activist Robbie Starbuck put a spotlight on one of the company's board members, Gilbert Davila. He's 61. He joined the board of Cracker Barrel in 2020. And get this, he runs a DEI consulting firm. Not just any firm, but one that brags about embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion into every part of a corporation. And boy, evidently he's done it at Cracker Barrel. 15 years in that business. Before that, he was vice president of diversity at Disney. Yeah, Disney, the same company that's been shoving woke politics into every kid's movie, alienating parents across the country. Before that, he was pushing multicultural management at Sears and marketing at Coca-Cola. This guy is the poster child of DEI, and now Cracker Barrel has allowed him to just ruin their experience. Now he's on the board at Cracker Barrel. And surprise, surprise, suddenly Cracker Barrel starts rolling out woke DEI initiatives, celebrating pride parades, virtue signaling online, and stripping away its Americana identity. It doesn't take much to connect those dots, does it? Starbuck put it plainly. He said, people like him are behind the woke advertising push we've seen in recent years, and now they're doing the same thing to Cracker Barrel. And here's the kicker. Davila is one of their top individual shareholders. So he's not just advising, he's invested in pushing this agenda. He probably lost a lot of money last week when the stock plunged. And he should have. Now, let's step back for a minute. There's nothing wrong with welcoming customers from every background. There's nothing wrong with making sure everyone feels comfortable. But that's not what DEI at the corporate board level is about. That's not about hospitality. It's about ideology. It's about forcing a worldview onto companies that used to serve all of us without politics. And here's the part that hits a nerve for a lot of folks. That redesign, that stripping away of tradition, it feels deliberate. People aren't just mad that the man leaning on the barrel is gone. They're mad because every symbol of American heritage is being erased one by one. Think about it. Disney used to be about magic and family. Now it's lectures and politics. Bud Light was about football and camaraderie. Now it's about social experiments that tanked the brand. Target, same story. NASCAR, the NFL, even country music to a degree. Over and over, these institutions chase after the approval of a loud minority while alienating their actual customer base. And you would think by now they would have learned this. You would think that Cracker Barrel would have seen what happened to Bud Light and would have never gone down this path. So Cracker Barrel's customers, they're middle America families. They're senior citizens. They're travelers off the interstate looking for comfort food and a taste of tradition. And yet the board is listening to consultants and activists telling them they need to modernize to appeal to urban elites who wouldn't be caught dead in the Cracker Barrel anyway. I mean, are they really that stupid? I mean, that is insanity. And customers notice this type of thing. They see the new logo, they see the new design, and they know exactly what it means. The place they love is no longer there. It's not for them. It's not just a restaurant makeover. It's a cultural betrayal. Look, this is bigger than Cracker Barrel. We know this. This is about what happens when our culture gets taken over by a small group of elites who think tradition is embarrassing, who think Americana is exclusionary, who think that rocking chairs and old signs and fried chicken are somehow out of step with the times. Well, they're going to learn that it's not. They're not out of step. They're the backbone of who we are. That's why people are angry. That's why Starbucks video struck such a chord. Now, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Cracker Barrel's executives will ignore the backlash. They'll say the logo change is forward-looking. They'll claim the new design is inclusive, and their PR people will quietly roll out more DEI messaging. Meanwhile, sales will slip like they already have. Longtime customers will stop showing up, and they'll be scratching their heads wondering why their profits are down. As if the Cracker Barrel story Is it bad enough? This next story is just maddening. A man, an illegal migrant truck driver, is accused of killing 3 innocent people in Florida. Have you seen this story? His name is Harhinder Singh. He's 28 years old. He's from India. And according to investigators, he pulled an illegal U-turn on the Florida Turnpike while driving a tractor trailer. That reckless move caused a crash that killed 3 people, 3 families destroyed in an instant. Just like that. Their lives changed instantly because of this guy. Now, here's where it gets outrageous. Instead of the story being about justice for those victims, about accountability for someone who shouldn't even be here in the first place, we're watching an international sympathy campaign for this driver. More than 2 million people, you heard me right, 2 million people have signed a change.org petition demanding leniency of this guy. They want Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to commute Singh's sentence if he's convicted. Now think about that. 3 people are dead. Families are destroyed. This man is here illegally, and the global outrage is aimed not at the injustice to the victims, but at protecting the guy who caused it, the guy who shouldn't have even been here and took these lives, and now they're rallying around him. The petition claims that this was just a tragic accident, not a deliberate act, and says the charges don't fit. His family back in India says a 45-year sentence would be cruel. Online commentators from Australia to Canada says it's unfair to punish a young man who just wanted a brighter future. Folks, is that justice? Or is that a moral inversion? Let's be clear. Under Florida law, vehicular homicide carries 15 years per count. Singh faces 3 counts. That's 45 years. Nobody pulled that number out of a hat. Nobody just made it up for this particular illegal. That's the law. Because killing 3 people on the highway isn't a traffic ticket. It's not just a mistake. It's life and death. Again, it's changing these families forever. Their families will never be the same because of this guy. Now, here's more you need to know. Singh came here illegally in 2018. He mortgaged land back home to get across the border. Border Patrol called him, but instead of sending him back, sound familiar? They released him on a $5,000 bond. His immigration case has been sitting in the courts ever since. Now, while he was waiting, he was allowed to stay. He's been allowed to work and apparently drive a tractor trailer on our roads. Now, how crazy is this? But this is typical Biden-Harris policy. This is the way Joe Biden and Kamala Harris treated these people. Now, he's accused of killing 3 people in a preventable case, according to authorities. He fled Florida after the wreck, went all the way to California, and had to be hunted down by U.S. Marshals. DHS now calls him a significant threat to public safety. Now, tell me again why he's the victim here. I'd love to know. Why is he the victim? Why are these couple million people signing a petition to support him and not the families? Can you explain that to me? Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line. I mean, I don't get it. Makes no sense. Why people are rallying around him and not those families. If you can explain that to me, text me, email me. And again, you can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line. 864-477-JOEY. 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com. And boy, Michael and Dale still has some great deals. The classic collection of MyPillows, wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow when you use promo code Joey. It gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices as well. Queen size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. Again, you have to use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com or call 800-893-4059. And by the way, to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when you order $75 or more, again, use promo code Joey. That's right. Get the My Standard pillow for only $19.98 when you go to MyPillow.com. So back to this story of this guy Singh. We have international politicians who are weighing in on this story, saying this is discrimination against this Indian truck drivers. We have a member of the Indian Parliament claiming that these drivers make up 20% of the U.S. trucking industry, and that cracking down on foreign drivers would be unfair. Since when do we have to be fair to people who are illegally in our country? Do we have to be fair to them? Excuse me? Do we let foreign politicians lecture us on American law enforcement? Is this our justice system? These are our roads. Those were American citizens who died. And let's not forget Senator Marco Rubio. He stepped up or stepped in after this crash and froze commercial truck driver visas. Because guess what? We shouldn't have foreign nationals, many of them here on shaky legal ground, operating massive rigs on our highways without tighter scrutiny, especially not when we're already watching American truckers struggle to make a living. But instead of hearing, thank you for protecting lives, what do we get? Outrage from abroad. Outrage from online petitioners. Outrage that America might actually enforce its own laws. That's what's wrong with our immigration laws as it is. Folks, this is the immigration debate in a nutshell. For years, we've had open borders, weak enforcement, and political leaders who treat illegal entry as a minor issue. Like it really is not that bad. It's not something we should be worried about. These are people just wanting a better life. And then when something horrific happens, like when Kate Steinle is murdered in San Francisco, when a family is wiped out by a drunk driver in Texas who's here illegally, when 3 Floridians die because a man pulled an illegal U-turn in a semi, suddenly we're told, don't be cruel, don't punish too harshly, have compassion of these people. Where's the compassion for the victims? Where's the compassion for the families who will never see their loved ones again? And by the way, Singh wasn't just unlucky. He wasn't just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He made choices. Number one, he came here illegally. He defied immigration law. He got behind the wheel of a semi, pulling a dangerous maneuver, fleeing the scene, hiding in California. Those aren't accidents. Those are decisions. Those are choices that he made. Those were bad choices. Now he's going to have to suffer the consequences, or at least he should. Now, let me ask you a question here. What if the roles were reversed? What if an American went overseas, he entered illegally, he caused a crash that killed 3 people, then fled across the country? Do you think 2 million locals would be signing a petition demanding mercy for the American? Or would that American be rotting in a foreign prison without a second thought? You tell me. We all know the answer. And here's the larger point. Justice has to mean something. Laws have to mean something. If we bend the rules every time someone claims it was just an accident, if we let online petitioners dictate sentences, we're not a nation of laws anymore. We're a nation of mob pressure. Look, nobody's saying Singh woke up that morning wanting to kill people. But the whole reason we have criminal charges like vehicular homicide is because negligence, recklessness, and illegal behavior lead to death. And when it does, there has to be accountability. Somebody has to be held responsible. And in this case, this young man, he made poor choices. Now he should have to suffer the consequences. If you drink and drive and kill someone, you don't get to say, well, it was an accident. If you text behind the wheel and crash, you don't get to say, oops, I didn't mean to. If you pull a reckless maneuver in a semi-truck and 3 people die, you have to face the consequences, right? Am I being too harsh here? And if you're in this country illegally when it happens, then yes, your very presence is part of the story. You shouldn't have been here in the first place. So things are going to be a little bit tougher for you. I'm sorry. So I say this. Florida has to enforce the law just like every other state. Governor Ron DeSantis must not bow to international petitions or foreign politicians. And Americans must remember that compassion for lawbreakers cannot come at the expense of justice for American victims, or any victims for that matter. 3 lives were lost on that highway. Let's not lose our sense of right and wrong along with them. And as far as these 2 million plus people who've signed the petition, I hate it for them. Wonder if they would sign that petition if one of their family members had been one of the victims? You think they would have signed a petition then? You think they'd still be crying for mercy for this guy? Look, we have to treat him humanely, but he took lives. And just to ignore it, to turn and look the other way is wrong. I don't think we're going to do that. I don't think Americans are up to that anymore. It's time that we enforce the law, and that we particularly enforce the law when it comes to illegals who are in our country causing heartache like this guy. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. South Carolina death row inmate Stephen Bixby believes any judge who has ruled against him is satanic, and that most laws are unconstitutional. And get this, an angel was present when he gunned down 2 police officers more than 2 decades ago. Now, whether those are political and religious opinions or delusions was the big question that was posed to a Greenville County judge during a 2-day hearing that concluded last Friday. Bixby believes that he is competent and wanted to talk directly to a judge to argue his innocence. Now, in the courtroom on Friday, he said he did nothing wrong in gunning down 2 officers during a day-long standoff over a planned road widening that would take a piece of the Bixby family's Abbeville property. I remember this case. Again, it happened 20-plus years ago. A jury found Mr. Bixby guilty of killing Sheriff's Deputy Danny Wilson and Constable Donnie Outs, and recommended a sentence of death in 2007. Now, here's what this 58-year-old death row inmate told Judge R. Scott Sprouse. He said, "They keep saying victim, victim, victim. They're not victims. A perpetrator has never been a victim." Bixby believes that his conviction was illegal because it didn't follow his reading of the Constitution, which gives treason as the only reason for the death penalty, he said. He believes prosecutors and judges conspired against him to bury evidence. And he believes that if he can get his thoughts in front of the right court, then he'll be able to leave prison. They'll turn him loose. He was wearing a green jumpsuit, glasses. Bixby took notes during the expert's testimony, nodding in agreement when they listed his beliefs and shaking his head when they called those same beliefs false. Bixby told the judge, "I'm just tired. I'm absolutely, positively tired. There's no meat in this case," he said. "This shouldn't have gone on for as long as it has, and if it had been dealt with, my filings since day one, I would have been free long ago." The South Carolina Daily Gazette says that during his 11-minute address, Mr. Bixby mostly complained about perceived legal injustices in his case. His arguments highlight the bizarre beliefs that make him incompetent for execution, defense attorney Joshua Snow Kendrick argued. Now, this is just a crazy part of these types of cases. Because of his lunacy, because of these crazy pleadings, his attorney wants him to be spared because he's incompetent for execution. Now, those 2 police officers, they lost their lives. And for the last 20 years, their family has had to go on with life without them. According to the story, Bixby is out of normal appeals. He was among inmates expected to receive a death warrant when executions resumed last September, but the state Supreme Court paused his case long enough to determine whether he's competent to be executed. Along with his beliefs about the legal system, Bixby thinks that patterns he finds in sequences of numbers hold special meaning to him. And he thinks God protected him from bullets during the 2003 shootout, claiming the blood of Christ was on his clothing afterwards. I think he's wanting people to think that he's nuts so he won't be executed. All 4 psychiatrists who testified agreed that Bixby met the federal bar for competence, which says that an inmate must understand what their execution means and the link between their crime and the punishment. South Carolina's law is a little bit looser, though. It's a little bit looser than the federal test. An inmate must be able to rationally communicate with their attorneys and understand the court proceedings, according to the precedent set by the state Supreme Court. Bixby can communicate with his attorneys, according to the Gazette. The question is whether he's rational when he does. So here we are. We're continuing to debate whether or not he should be executed for the 2 lives that he took. The substance of his unshakable beliefs is so far removed from reality that his attorneys can't speak to him about his case or get any new information from him that they might use for appeals, Kendrick said. Kendrick said, "What you have heard is a person who's going to communicate with his attorneys who will be nice to them sometimes, but that's not the question. The question," he said, "is whether Bixby's lawyers can do their job effectively, which is not going to happen." So I guess because he is a little bit delusional, he shouldn't be responsible for his actions. Is that it? Prosecutors argue that Bixby's beliefs are odd but not delusional. Experts for both sides agreed that many of Bixby's beliefs align with so-called constitutionalists who believe the Constitution is the only valid law and sovereign citizens who denounce the government altogether. Bixby himself hasn't identified himself as belonging to any particular political group. A psychiatrist hired by prosecutors said lots of people find patterns in numbers. Take, for example, people with lucky lottery numbers who believe they'll one day win the jackpot. Richard Frierson is one of the psychiatrists who was hired by prosecutors. He says, "Where do you draw the line as to how many people have to believe something before we consider it mental illness?" Many of Bixby's beliefs seem to have come directly from his parents, Frierson said. His mother received a life sentence for planning the ambush. His father, who also shot at officers, was found unfit to stand trial because he had developmental dementia. Both died while serving their time in prison. According to authorities, after years of homeschooling, Bixby is relatively uneducated, which made him more susceptible to believing conspiracy theories. He listens to radio stations and reads blog posts that affirm his belief system, Frierson said. Various psychiatrists have diagnosed Bixby with narcissistic personality disorder, a mental condition that causes a person to believe themselves to be the center of the universe. That likely is what led to Bixby's beliefs becoming unshakable, since he thinks that he's the smartest person in any room, Richard DeMeyer said. He's a psychiatrist Bixby's defense team hired to evaluate him. So his own psychiatrist believes that he's nuts, basically. Bixby also has some paranoia that might affect his functioning, as well as post-traumatic stress disorder from childhood trauma, which wasn't specified, and his father getting shot during the standoff, according to psychiatrists, has pushed him over the line as well. Look, I'm sure it was traumatic, but again, he chose to take the lives of 2 police officers. Are you now going to try to make the argument he didn't know what he was doing on that day when he shot and killed these officers? None of the psychiatrists who testified had ever found a person incompetent because of a personality disorder alone, they said. Often patients deemed incompetent have a condition that affects their memory, like dementia or some form of psychosis, which makes them unable to comprehend what's happening or what will happen if they die, they said. But you tell me, should the fact that you don't completely understand what's happening, should a personality disorder that is strongly held to believe that a person was shaped during their childhood, should that prevent someone from being held responsible for taking another person's life? Is that an excuse? Bixby's personality disorder impaired him enough that he couldn't face the death chamber, DeMeyer said. Frierson and Donna Maddox, the court-appointed psychiatrist who evaluated Bixby, disagreed on that. Bixby has shown symptoms of psychosis in the past, they said. During a particular stressful period, he told a psychiatrist he was having visions of billboards that read, Bixby for sheriff, and that he caused his attorney's skin to peel. Bixby for sheriff. Look, I don't think anyone's arguing that the guy's nuts. You'd have to be nuts to take the lives of 2 police officers. But is that an excuse not to be executed because of your actions? Just another example of just how crazy our world has become. That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, Bill Frady, Charlie James. I'm back again tomorrow at 5 a.m. for Sunrise, Carolina. Until then, remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.